Hello everyone. Today I'm going to be showing you how to download Ubuntu 14.04 and install it on VMware Workstation Player and create a virtual machine. So first, the reason we're going to download Ubuntu 14.04 is because it requires a lot less of our system hardware than Ubuntu 20.04, which is the latest version. So if we look at the system requirements for Ubuntu 14.04, we can see minimum system memory required is 1.5 gigabytes of RAM, as opposed to 20.04, which requires 4 gigabytes of RAM and up to 25 gigabytes of disk space. So 14.04 is a perfectly fine version to use if we're just learning how to use Ubuntu and learning how to use Linux and using it for educational purposes and hobby purposes. So we're going to download 14.04 today, and of course if you're interested in downloading 20.04 and seeing what the new interface looks like, by all means go ahead, but in this video I'll show 14.04. So the main site to download it from is Ubuntu.com, and then we're going to click on the download link at the top of the page, and then we're going to click on Ubuntu Desktop. So if we scroll down here, we can see that there's the 20.04 release, but we can also see underneath download we have a link to select alternative downloads, which is past releases and network installers. So we'll scroll past the network installer and the BitTorrent, and we'll see that we have past releases and other flavors of Ubuntu. So 18.04 and 16.04 there. You could choose to download those and look at those versions. If we go to past releases, we'll also see 12.04 and 14.04. We're going to click on 14.04. We can see we can select an image of 14.04, the 64-bit, 32-bit, or the server image. We're going to download the 64-bit PC desktop image. Now, prior to this video, I've downloaded it because it does take some time. Depending on your internet connection, it could take anywhere from a minute to 30 minutes. The file size is 1.1 gigabytes, so just keep that in mind. It may take some time to download. If you're on a metered connection, you may want to wait to download it later. So now that we have the file downloaded, we're going to open VMware Workstation 15 Player, and we're going to click on Create a New Virtual Machine. And right off the bat, it gives us several different options. So we could install the operating system from a physical disk that I plug into my physical computer, or we can install it from a disk file, which is what we will be doing in a second, or we can install operating system later, which is what I will be doing. So the guest operating system is Linux, and the version of Linux that we're using is Ubuntu 64-bit. Click on Next. We can choose a name at this point. Now I'm going to name my virtual machine Ubuntu 14 test. Then we can choose the location to save this new virtual machine to. Make sure that you at least have probably 10 gigabytes of free space. If you have much less than that, you run risk of running out of memory space. So I've chosen the location to save my virtual machine on. Now I'll click Next. Now we need to choose how big of a hard drive we want it to be able to have. Note, this is not going to automatically separate 20 gigabytes and dedicate it to this machine, but this is the maximum size that the disk can grow to. So 20 gigabytes is fine, or you can shrink that if you would like. And I'll just accept the default and split the virtual disk into multiple files. So now we can customize the hardware if we are interested. So you can see our memory is set to 2 gigabytes of RAM, we have one processor. I'm going to click on New CD/DVD SATA, and I'm going to use an ISO image, and I'm going to mount that ISO image that we just downloaded, and this is how we're going to install Ubuntu. I'm going to click on Browse, and that file is saved in my Downloads folder. And click on the .iso file and click on Open. And then I'm going to click Close. And now I'm going to click on Finish. So we can see the Ubuntu 14 test virtual machine is powered off, and we can press the play button to power it on. So it's going to go through the boot sequence, and it's going to find that .iso file, and it's going to boot from that .iso file since that's the only bootable device connected to this virtual machine. If you've never booted up a physical computer to a physical USB or CD, this process may be very foreign to you, but if you've done it, hopefully the concept is similar. So now we're going to go through the process of installing Ubuntu. You can choose to try it out and it'll just run in random access memory, but we are going to install it instead. I'm going to skip downloading updates because that will take much longer, and I'm going to skip the third-party software because that will also take time, and I just want to focus on the main installation. So the computer has no operating system, so it's fine to erase the disk. This disk actually has no information on it. This is not your physical disk. It's a file in your disk that the virtual machine pretends is a disk, if that makes sense. So it's a virtual disk, and we're erasing the virtual disk, not the physical disk. So just be aware of that. So I'm going to go click on Install Now, and I'm going to click Continue. It's not going to format any of your physical hardware, just a file. Now I'm going to change the time zone to the nearest large city nearby. And then if this is too small, you can drag this window to just keyboard layout. I'm going to click on Continue. And now I need to set up a user. So I'm just going to choose a random user for this computer. I'm going to leave the computer name default. You can change it if you wish. I'm going to choose a password. And of course, just like in anything, you should document your password. If you're just using this for educational and hobby purposes, it does not have to be extremely secure. I don't use very secure passwords on my educational virtual machines, or ones that I'm just toying with. If they do get compromised, just delete them, create a new one. There's nothing vital running on these machines, so security for them is not as crucial. And you can choose to log in automatically to skip having to enter the password, but either way, write it down somewhere or have it be something that you are sure you can remember. So it's going to take a while to install Ubuntu 14.04 or any version that you are installing. So I will skip some of this install process in the video. So it will take you 5 to 10 minutes longer, but this is normal. Okay, so now the installation is complete, and we're going to restart our computer, and the system should be good to go. So I'm just going to click enter. We can remove the installation media later, and I'll show you how to do that. Alright, so now we've restarted, and we're going to enter our password and see that we have Ubuntu 14.04 running virtually on a Windows 10 PC. Of course, immediately it asked me if I want to upgrade. The reason I chose an older version is so that it runs better, so I'm going to choose to not upgrade, and you can always upgrade later, of course. So this has been a video on how to install Ubuntu 14.04. Next video we'll look at some of the VMware basics for interacting with the virtual machine and some of the aspects of Ubuntu itself. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoy.